Welcome everybody to a very cold, wet and rather miserable English winter. Today we're going to be checking out my Canyon Strive. What a gem it is. But first, let me give you a few facts about myself. So I'm 183 centimeters tall and weigh 80 kilograms. And that's just to give you a little context of a few of the numbers later on when we delve into the setup and how I like my trusty Enduro steed here. So, like I said, this is my trusty Strive in a size large. I'm 183 centimeters tall. Now, the head angle up front, 65 to 66.5. Seat tube angle is 73 to 74.5. A reach of 464 mil and 150 out back, 170 up front, ready to crush pretty much anything in its path. Right, let's start up front and up top with the cockpit. It's Canyon's G5 cockpit. It's a carbon bar and an aluminium stem. The stem is a 40mm zero rise and the bar is a 20mm rise, 760 width. It's a carbon bar. All my bars are pretty much cut to 760mm bar my jump bike, which is obviously a little bit narrower. Like I said, 20mm rise on that. Grips wise, stealthed out Ergon GE1s just because they look badass and just fly under the radar. On braking duties, it's Shimano's XTR 4-pot brakes, plenty of power there. I love the feel of those things, they feel real good. And actually with my brakes, I'm really specific. I like them to always be at pretty much the same angle, and that is actually across all my bikes. That's a 35-degree angle with the lever wound out so it sits just on the tip of my forefinger there. It's just how I've come to like it over the years, and that's one of the major things that I'm actually really picky on, is just that brake lever setup. XTR 12-speed shifter on the matchmaker on the right hand side, and on the left tucked underneath is the shape shifter and dropper levers as well. A couple of nifty little features I got at the front. Little Nukeproof Garmin top cap there just to keep the Garmin on, keeps things nice and tidy rather than any mounts out the front, stuff like that. And a bonus little place where I stash some zip ties is just in sort of the cable port here. Actually, there's two zip ties in there because, as we all know, zip ties fix everything, and it's just a really tidy little out-of-the-way place to stash them. But anyway, let's move down onto the forks. So it's a 170mm Fox 36 Kashima coated up front with the Fit 4 damper. Now, a lot of people always wonder how I have this set up, so here you go, ready for this. Now, bear in mind my weight, which I said at the beginning is 80 kilograms. But the compression is wound all the way open. The rebound is 6 clicks from open. There's 5 tokens in there and about 68 to 70 PSI. I find that sort of that configuration gives me the small bump compliance, but actually ramps up nicely with the tokens in there when inevitably it takes some massive hits. What else have we got up front then? Well, I like to run carbon wheels. I really like the stiffness and the feeling of them. Now, these are 28-spoked EThirteen LG1Rs, R being the race. Like I said, they got a 30mm internal, and that's mated up to a Vittoria Mazza trail tyre up front. The trail tyre, because it's a little bit lighter up front, so it just helps keep that front end. I don't think you need like a big chunky tyre a lot of the time on the front, but I will change it if the course permits. That's also a 29 by 2.6 boost, obviously. Rotor size 203 for maximum power. To the middle of the bike then, and let's start up top with the saddle. Now, I choose to run the same saddle on pretty much all of my bicycles, again because it's like one of those contact points, and I know it's consistent across them all, and I like to know that they're all going to feel pretty much the same. So this is an Ergon SM Pro Enduro tie saddle. It looks badass because it's also got like that oil slick finish on the rails, just because just going to be real fickle there, and I really like the look of it as well. Not to mention that it does fit really good. But that is bolted on top of a Crankbrothers Highline 170mm dropper post. 170 just slams it all the way out the way when you're descending. You don't want it banging on your legs. Clamped in place nicely by just the clamp that came on the bike. Absolutely nothing fancy to report there. Right then, a little bit lower down, and this is the area that I get asked a fair few questions about because it's not exactly stock. This bike comes with a DPX2 air shock on it normally. That's gone. In is the Fox DHX2 coil shock. So let's delve into around this middle part then. Now, not only is the shock not stock, but actually the bushings aren't stock. They're offset, so they actually give a 0.5 degree slacker head angle. So whereas that's normally 66 in its slackest, that's now 65.5, just to rake it out a little bit, so at top speed, it's a little bit more stable. It's a 425-pound spring, Kashima coated, obviously. And the compression and rebound stats are... Yeah, no, I don't know. So what are the settings I have for this shock? Well, rebound, high and low speed are both 14 clicks from fully open. On the compression, the low speed is 6 from fully open, whereas the high speed is 5 clicks from fully open. I've actually gone for a coil shock on this bike, one, because I love the feel of a coil shock. Secondly, this is obviously a big mountain enduro bike as well. And I just really like that the feel of the shock stays consistent no matter what. So even when it heats up, or say if you go somewhere really hot, or obviously if it's under a lot of use and it's just compressing, that air can does heat up on a lot of regular air shocks. You don't lose any feel ever with a coil. And again, looks badass. Again, obviously this shock is controlled, if you like, by the shapeshifter to a certain degree. The shapeshifter alters the bike, essentially shortening the travel slightly, steepening the head angle and steepening the seat tube angle. And I do actually use that a fair bit for climbing, certainly like liaisons or long fire roads climbs when I'm out on the trail. So it's a really good little tool or sort of bonus on this bike. Real good feature. But down below, we've got a 170mm Raceface Next SL crank, very nice and lightweight. Like I said, 170mm, nice and snappy for sprinting. EThirteen bash guard and chain guide just for keeping things nice and secure. And Crankbrothers Mallet E pedals, but the long spindle ones. I got size 10 feet, so the longer spindle just keeps them nice and away from the crank, so they're not bashing and rubbing all the time, or I'm clattering my ankle on the inside there. Let's talk about the back end of this beauty, because it has got a mighty find behind. First up, XTR 12 speed, 1051 cassette, obviously only one chainring at the front because, well, you don't need two, that's crazy. Like I said, 1051, 12 speed, plenty of gears for winching me up the craziest of climbs. The wheel, obviously, is the other half of the EThirteen LG1 race carbon wheel set, 28 hole again, 30mm internal. Braking is on a 180mm rotor. I never feel like you need to do as much braking with the back. You just basically lock it up or you don't, so you can get away with a slightly smaller rotor. Should I ride big mountains or real gnarly stuff, then it may well get upgraded to a 203, but that very rarely happens. The biggest difference, and for the eagle-eyed amongst you, is that this is an Enduro casing tyre. It's the thicker Mazza that Vittoria makes. It's their thickest casing. And that's, again, just to help with any impacts on rocks and stuff like that. I'd rather pay the weight penalty on the back end for that extra security. No tyre insert though, because nice wide rims, 2.4 tyre, thicker casing. I don't think you need an insert, and I'd rather try and keep the weight down. This bike comes in at quite a sprightly, about 32.5 pounds last time I weighed it. A few little bonus bits for you then. Now, obviously I do some big days in the saddle, be that enduro races or just because I like to do really big long rides on this thing. There isn't at the moment, but this is a toe peak bottle cage, and sometimes I have the multi-tool strapped, the Ninja, attached to the back of it there. It's just got every little bit on there, Allen keys, chain tool, just to get me out of trouble. Like I said, I've got my zip ties in there because they fix everything. There will often be a tube and canisters or a pump on there strapped to it as well, just to help me out, because you've got to be completely self-sufficient if you do an enduro race. Little mud guard on there. It's winter, it's grim, keeps the splatter out your face. And really that's about it. I really hope actually that you've enjoyed checking out my Canyon Strive, how I have it set up, all my little tips and tricks that I do on it to make it nice and comfortable for me. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching, everybody on the tech channel, for having me as well. Happy riding, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.